He was simply known as Nicholas Biwott, but he gave himself a nickname, Total Man. Uh, this is about my interaction with him. There is an incident where he accompanied the president to Australia, and so the Australian government said that his behaviors were not diplomatic, so the Kenyan government was forced to have him leave Australia earlier than that. And when he was confronted with that, he said he was a total man. That is to do with his characteristic of what he did there. He was a very powerful person, second only to the head of state, and he was very, very secretive. His full names were Kipiator Nicholas Kiprono Arab Biwott. Now, when I was young, people used to have two names. I remember I used to be called James, son of Kwatenge. Or if it is a lady, daughter of so-and-so. And then somewhere in the late 70s is when they introduced three names. And the three names usually are your Christian or European name, then the name that people call you at home, that is your own tribal name, and lastly, your father, family, or even surname. Most of people have that way, but to me it is different because my father's name appears in the middle and my name appears at the end. But most people it is your Christian or European name, then your African name, then your father's or family or even surname. So his name was Nicholas. His Kalenjin name was Kiprono. And then the surname was Biwott. But you'll discover that before the Christian name, and very many people started with the Christian name first, but before his Christian name, he had a name which made it be four names. Kipiator. Yes, we have Kipiator and Yator among the Kalenjins. Those are common names, but literally the name Kipiator means Kiongozi, the leader. So it was a way of trying to say Mheshimiwa or something like that. Arab Biwott attended his university in Australia, and that is why he even married an Australian lady. But then he had another mpango wa kando with a senior lady, and that is why you find his daughter, who is a PS, is not from that Caucasian wife. He came to Kenya and worked normally like any other DO. But then, if you're a DO and you're lucky enough, you end up being a PA to a very senior person, and that one would also mean that at the end of the day, you will also be endowed money-wise. So he was the PA to Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. He was the PA to Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, but resigned in 1974 to contest a parliamentary seat where he failed. 1974. The next election was 1979, when Moi was the president. And it was normal those days. I don't see them nowadays. Those days we used to find during Jomo Kenyatta's time, during Daniel Arap Moi's time, we used to find situation where delegations from each county, let me use the current name, each county would visit the president and pledge loyalty and send their presents, whereby the president was given money to take to a project of. He used to be given money twice. Like Jomo Kenyatta would be given some money for Gatundu Self-Help Hospital, which I'm now told is a level 5. And he would be given another equal amount to be taken to any project of his own liking. I think the best project if I were the president was my pocket. Anyway, that is what used to happen during Moi and Kenyatta time. So the day when these people from Elgeyo Marakwet visited the president, obviously everybody talks and the president is usually the last person to say. There was an MP, I can't recall his name very well, but I think he was called Kurgat. Kurgat, like other MPs, talked, praised the president, did whatever. It was the turn of hierarchy until the last person to speak was none other than the president. So somewhere in the speech, he can't recall if the name is Kurgat. Let us assume it is Kurgat. Although whoever remembers first can place it in the comment section. He called the MP and called Biwott and thanked them both. Maybe Biwott knew, but this person did not know. Then he said, the MP did not know. Then the president said, he thanked the MP and Biwott for agreeing that the forthcoming election, 1979, the MP is stepping down for Biwott. The MP, of course, those days before Mother Karua would walk out of the president, those days you could not, for the sake of, if you wanted to, if you are not fed up with oxygen, you'd even talk of whatever. So they agreed, and then he said to show that we are serious and whatever, come and greet each other in front of people. So they greeted each other. And that is how Biwott found himself in parliament, and that is how Biwott found himself in the cabinet. But you'll find that, as I always insist, that the president in Kenya between 1978 and 82 was none other than Charles Njonjo. So in 1982, Moi now brought his fangs out, and that is when Biwott started becoming very powerful. You'll find that in each presidency, there is somebody who is very powerful, a minister more powerful than all others combined. Actually, he's even more powerful than the deputy head of state. Usually such a person comes from the president's area. You'll find that during Jomo Kenyatta's time, the most powerful person was Mbio Koinange. And usually these people end up in the Ministry of State, Office of the President. So Mbio Koinange, there you are. Then after that, during Moi's time, it was Biwott. And during Kibaki's time, it was Murungaru. The fellow from Nyeri, Dr. Chris, is it Murungaru? Yeah. But during Uhuru's time, it went out of the tribe, and Dr. Matiang'i was that all-powerful minister. So Biwott was that all-powerful minister during Moi's time. And this recording, I just started by introducing him and whatever, but I wanted to talk about my personal encounter with him and how we have intertwined like a rope until his death. Biwott, I joined the intelligence and was posted to a place called Sigor. Sigor covers up to the place called Turkwel Gorge. So we were at Sigor, it covered up to Turkwel Gorge, and I started receiving intelligence. That, there are two national parks around that place. There is Turkana South National Park on the Turkana side, and we have Nasalot Game Reserve. Turkana was National Game Park, and this one was Game Reserve. But they just have a board at a place called Kainuk. So we started receiving information that Biwott was into poaching. I shared that because I was in the sub-district security committee. I shared that with the DO, with the inspector, police inspector. We shared with the game person. I remember the fellow in charge of game at Nasalot was a Kisi by tribe. I can't recall the name. So we discussed and we wanted to know. But you see, we knew that if we were to get the poachers red-handed, whoever that poacher was, our job would be safe. So we were told that Biwott was the one who was in that poaching. And actually, we were even told that he himself usually came to those areas and we were prepared to arrest him. So we discussed this thing. And as we were discussing, because I was still new there is somebody, a training officer from the NYS in Lomut. This gentleman came and told me that he is usually the one who gives information to the sub-district security committee, and he wanted to continue serving with me. He told me Ochieng, whom had taken over. Okay, Ochieng was a long-serving person there, but Enoch Mwachala had just stayed there for a short time before he was promoted as an inspector and taken out, and then I came. So he told me I usually give those people intelligence and whatever. I give the DO, I give the police. That one disqualified him. One, we discouraged somebody giving being a sort of a person who goes to various security sections to go and give them information. We even when we met as either at the district, at the sub-district, the district, or even provincial level, we used to be encouraged that everybody should have his own source of intelligence. But if it is one person who goes and tells everybody, why can't he just call a class, like a teacher in a class, and teach you all? The other thing is, whenever you leave a place and you have a source of intelligence which you feel is very important, as you are leaving, you make sure you come and hand over to the incoming person and say, first of all, you come and talk to the incoming person and say, I think I have somebody, and in the intelligence, you don't compel him. You say, I have somebody whom I believe he can be very good to our job, so can I please leave it with you? Then when the person accepts, then you hand over the person to that. But since none of them had handed over to me, then I knew this is somebody who was pushing. It is that person. His name is Thomas Mutiso. It is that Thomas Mutiso. When I just told him no, okay, watu wa masomo nyingi, there is no person who is as proud as somebody who thinks is very educated. And you see a constable from 6. I said, mi mwerevu sana, najua kutafuta kazi yangu. I don't even need you. This man was not happy. He went when I was on leave, told the sub-district security committee, with the exception of me and the Kisii game warden. Those days we used to have this called game department. Nowadays it's called KWS. Went told the others that Biwott was doing that, and that me and that Kisii were involved. That was November 1985. No, November 1986. Yeah, it was November 1986. So he went and told those ones. They then forwarded him to Kapenguria, where he went and met each and every member of. He went and met each and every member of the district security committee, and he even told them, and he told them, so they laid a trap, wanting to arrest me. That Kisii, I don't know how he didn't agree with the Kisii game department, Kisii warden, but they laid a trap for us. Imagine somebody laying a trap at you at Turkwel Gorge when you are seated comfortably enjoying your leave in Webuye. It did go through. I went back after I completed my leave. The story was still going on, and the inspector of police was Harrison Maina Gwandaru. Yeah, Harrison Maina Gwandaru. One time when we were taking alcohol and we were drunk, he said, "You are a very stupid person." I said, "Why?" He said, "You accept to be given 100,000 shillings by Biwott and he goes away with millions." I looked at him and said, "Sir, if I get that amount, even half of that, I'll look the other way around and let Biwott go through." I'm saying this 87 to the turn, that is 13 plus 24, 27, 37 years later. I can authoritatively say in the 2024 that Biwott was a poacher, and we had laid down a proper mechanism. I remember that Kisii game warden even telling me one day emotionally that, "How do you expect me to arrest poachers when I myself am being considered a poacher?" So I just told them, "You can run." And then the district warden was a Luo. So he said sorry to mention names, but I can't recall their names. I can't recall the names of the Kisii divisional game warden. I can't recall the name of the Luo district game warden. But this Kisii, when I was on leave, he just told that one that, "Please don't involve me about trapping Nicholas Biwott. When you cannot treat me as a suspect and then expect me to arrest the others. Why don't you just continue with your work so that when you arrest, if they implicate me, take me to court?" And that is how Biwott went away with poaching worth so much money because of a certain... And you see, this fellow wanted even to... And whenever I used to meet him, he would tell me a lot of things about NYS. NIS was not a threat to security. We didn't even want to know. And even if NYS, those are the days before kina Kafuria. And look at the scandals in NYS. Sinikuiba pesa tuko, what is the name? Ruaraka. Now you are telling me of a police, I mean, of NY. He wanted that me to be getting him intelligence about NY, about youths who had been brought there to show Pokots how to farm irrigation. That was my first encounter with Biwott. The second encounter, I remember I later got promoted. It's a long story. Then came and went to Nakuru. Went to Eldoret first. From Eldoret, I went to Nakuru. From Nakuru is when I noticed a lot of things. I used to have I was being asked to... There is something that you used to call indexing. Indexing is shrinking intelligence. You shrink intelligence to about is it 5 to 7% of the whole story. Because when you are told, oh, ABCD, you just say Kwatenge and Lando met on such a day, such a place, and they were planning to overthrow the government. That is indexing. You don't write the whole story, so that those were the pre-nini. So I came to understand, and I think I'll talk about it later, on how the intelligence in Nakuru had covered a lot of people concerning Ouko's death. I was at, no, not even before that. When I was still at Sigor, I remember that is when I was heavily involved in Turkwel Gorge. If you go for Turkwel Gorge, my signature appears there as some of the first people who were meeting to discuss Turkwel Gorge. That there's a time he came with Ouko on a plane, and that one I had covered that, but I'll recover that about how I was photographed between them. Then from there is when Ouko died, and when I went to Nakuru, I got a lot of information of how Ouko was killed in State House Nakuru. And it started from a very innocent party where he started from an innocent party where Mr. Koskei, the outgoing district special branch officer Nakuru, was telling John Abduba that John Anguka should not be worried because he's been covered. So from there, I monitored him a bit. Then from Nakuru, I went shortly, worked at E10. Now at E10, he used to come. I believe okay, before I say what I believe, he organized for me to be transferred to E10. Now in E10, the district security officer was acting superintendent, Mr. Nyakoe. Is now dead. And his deputy was Daniel Mariach Pogisio, also dead, but he was an inspector. So there was a time when they created Bomet, they hived Bomet out of Kericho. So Mariach, an inspector of police, was transferred from Elgeyo Marakwet, and he was taken. So when he was being asked, nani unataka kuleta huko, they were mentioning names. They mentioned Kwatenge, but he thought they had said Bartenge. So when he thought they had said it's Bartenge, so he said, kubali Bartenge akuje. So I was taken to E10 as a deputy under the new name of Bartenge. But later, when he discovered that he had made he never bothered to meet me, but he used to meet me. There was somebody, a subordinate staff there was a subordinate staff with the Ministry of Information, but a clerk, yeah. He used to cheat Biwott, that is the one who used to compile reports there. And every time Biwott came to E10, he would meet him personally. But Matege was a very close friend of mine. He used to tell me to put on a canoe shirt, a red one, and we would go there. And he would tell Matege what he wanted to be written by Kenya News Agency. So we would be there, and he would give us a lot of money. But whenever we used to meet, he never knew that I was an intelligence officer. He thought that I was also working for Ministry of Information. Then later on, shortly, a few years later, I was sacked. I left services, and when I left services, I went home. Now, when I went home, there was this inquiry, Gor Sungu inquiry on Ouko's death. When we went there, I gave out evidence, and it reached a stage where we now wanted to be called. When I was called, on the day I was going to appear, I was told to step down because there was a lady from Italy called Brainer, who was coming to give evidence, and we were called to a place and we were told, because when they were taking our statement, they had told us one thing, but later they told us, no, there is some changes. There is some changes that you'll be cross-examined. You know, parliamentary regulations are that you are not cross-examined, but Biwott had talked to the Gorsungu Parliamentary Commission and was told that he cannot cross-examine the witnesses. And then he say, because of the parliamentary standing orders, and he asked the parliament, which is senior, parliamentary standing orders or his constitutional right to be heard and cross-examine a person who advancedly mentions him. So he was told he'll be allowed to use a lawyer who must be an MP. You cannot use a lawyer from... Nowadays I see aka advocate Ndururu from Kirinyaga. He's always appearing. But those days, if a lawyer is not an MP, he cannot do that. So he chose Mutula Kilonzo. And when they were given my statement, I was told that with a new development, I was allowed to withdraw, and my statements would be expunged from records, or I should go there and be cross-examined. By that, I said I'm okay, and the Mbraina said she was giving evidence under protest, because when she left Italy while knowing that she'll not be cross-examined. And when Biwott was told that I'd adversely mentioned him, and imagine, I'm the one who said he shot him at State House. He said, wachana na hiyo mjinga. Recently, when I said the same, on NTV, February 2023, I mentioned Wajakoya, and when Wajakoya was asked to counter me, he said, with the right of reply, he said, not at the moment. You can see that YouTube, you'll see, he'll say he did not want to know. But during the Parliamentary Select Committee, the actual words of Biwott was wachana na huyo mjinga. So I don't know how stupid I am. Then from there, I gave evidence. It went that way. Recently, I was called upon by NTV. Then he died later. Then recently I was called by NTV, where I repeated the same. Now there was a slight change, because in the parliamentary statement and in parliamentary statement, and even in my evidence which was aired on TV live, I said that Biwott shot Ouko in the presence of their boss. But when I gave evidence, but when I repeated the same to NTV, I said Biwott shot Ouko in the presence of Moi. The program was aired, and then that is when the nation realized a mistake. Just like KTN before, you know, when I was talking about Waiganjo, the police reservist, the KTN aired it, which was illegal because you don't talk about ongoing case. But thanks God, 4 years later, the case that I had said, which is clear in the KTN, it came to be the way I said. Now, later on, here I was at Nation Media Center, talking the same thing, but now saying that the president was there. After airing it, the NTV received a demand. They received a demand letter from the family of Biwott. They said, you have waited for the person to die. You have, why didn't you say it when he was alive? And when you are airing it, why didn't you give us a right of reply? I was approached by NTV, being told of what was happening, and I told them, let them take you to court on one condition. Let us sign together that whatever money the court will give you, and Nation Media Group will give me a quarter of it. Said, okay. I told them, can you go and refer to the, what do you call? Can you refer to the Hansard, parliamentary Hansard? In the parliamentary Hansard, Biwott had said, and it was recorded, that wachana na huyo mjinga. So the Nation Media Group said, when Biwott was alive, this same witness talked of it in the parliament, and Biwott and his lawyer were there, and they heard it. And even before that, the witness had been told by the parliament that he is to be cross-examined